Namato Ratanatayasa. May I pay homage to Triple Zim, the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. My respect goes to my parents and my teachers. Hello, good evening, everyone. So today is the 29th, Friday the 29th, January 2021. This is Ajahn Sujan from Varapunya Meditation Center, Aberdeen, Scotland. Hi Yvonne, Vikram, Manish, Anish, Prani, John, and Margaret, and everyone. Good evening. So, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Shannon. Yeah. So, this is a Friday. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Vikram. Yeah, hello. So, this is a Friday night. As usual, I'm here tonight with you all. And today I'm also again going to read the Sutta, the discourse on a heap of the wholesome. And here this is about the wholesome and unwholesome. And what is wholesome and unwholesome? Wholesome is known as kusala and unwholesome is known as akusala. Normally when we learn Buddhism, it seems like very simple and sounds simple, that everything be kind of simple and easy. And being a Buddhist is somehow everyone expect a Buddhist to be generous, kind, compassionate, and ability to accept situations and always in a good conditions and ability to forgive. And that has projected in perceptions of so many people that all Buddhist teachings are basically teaching us to be simple. And with that, we all have a perception that Buddhism is beautiful and smooth and easy. But as you may have recognized that when you come to practice Buddhist practices or Buddhist meditations, then you will realize that how difficult it is to practice. So it sounds simple, but in a practical way it is very, very difficult. And these difficulties you will be able to notice even more greater when you begin to practice meditation, particularly if you go to the retreats. Suppose you have decided to go to retreat, and that moment you have so much enthusiasm, so much energy, and full of joy and full of expectations. And you will put a lot of efforts and full energies and full attention on that. So with this, first 1 or 2 days, you will have plenty of wonderful moments, and meanwhile, plenty of disturbances too. The tiredness, the sleepiness, the boredoms, and like that. And that's simply because we are not trained to be sitting in a quiet place. We are not trained to be in a sitting in a silence. You may have noticed yourself, the moment when you're silent, the greater speaking you become, the greater speaker you become. You will be speaking a lot. You will be talking a lot, not out loud, but inside your brain, inside your mind. So that's why the silent moments are such wonderful moments to understand yourself. The moment when you leave all the devices, technological technologies, and then free yourself from any other members of a family or the friends, and just go for a little walk, or just be in your own room without doing anything, then you realize that how much we chat within ourselves. And that helps to understand our own minds and heart. And that's why the retreats are there. Retreats are not, do not think that retreats are to uplift yourself or transform yourself over a night time. No, it doesn't work like that. Take the retreats as a moments to learn yourself, learn about yourself, learn about your feelings, emotions, and I'm pretty sure you will have that when you are on the retreats. I remember like now 20 odd years ago when I first joined Buddhism, and then I was introduced to go to meditation. It's 10 days meditation. This is a silent meditation. And first couple of days were so terrible and so hard to meditate because you are talking to yourself all the time. And every night there is a Dharma talk going on, reflection going on, and every night the teacher will be saying that, you will have thoughts of escaping and running away from the retreats. And that was exactly same what's happening in our minds the first 2 nights. And I do hear that even the monks run away from that retreat by the time of day 3. So that much difficult. And that's simply because we are talking in our own minds. Now I will tell you one story that I was told. There was one monk who has been a monk for about 10 years. And then somehow he was introduced to meditate on this retreat. So he decided he was good at it, he was so enthusiastic and learned, and he went in to the retreat. And then on the day 3, he ran away from the retreat center. And later on, his one of friends spoke with him. What happened? Why didn't he manage to stay the whole 10 days retreat? The answer was, it was so difficult that to deal with his own mind and that much talking going on. In the same time, there is another story that I hear, which was told by one of the meditation teachers last year when I was on a retreat, that one of the monks went for this 7 months retreat, and then after 3 months retreat, he begins to behave like Supreme God, and then behaving in that way and saying that I know everything, like that. And that is simply because we are talking in our head a lot. And I don't have to prove it. You know all that you have that moments. The moment when you are sitting alone, there is no devices, then began to feel that something, what's going on in our heads, and you want to do something. We want to engage doing something like that. Yeah? And this is what happens. Yeah? And when we go to meditation retreats, normally we will have these 2 states of the mind, the wholesome state of the mind and unwholesome state of the mind. And normally unwholesome states of the mind take control over it. And this is again not only in the retreats, even in our day-to-day life. We see that our negative mind plays more energetically than a positive mind. Positive is something like very less energy, and it doesn't play much role, although we want that positive energies more than the negative. So in the practice of a meditation, when we are in the normally, and I used to say that we like to have a comfortable life and entertaining our senses. And with this as the thought of entertaining and our senses, we always lost our own times for our own happiness and our own wholesomes. So this is the teachings that comes in this course. It's called a heap of wholesome. So let me start saying at Savatthi. So this is one of the cities. There, the Blessed One said this: because if one were to say of anything a heap of the unwholesome, it is about the 5 hindrances, and that one could rightly say this. For this is a complete heap of the unwholesome, that is the 5 hindrances. So the 5 hindrances that is embedded in us and which is unwholesome, that always takes us to do something negative, not allow us to develop any wholesome state of the mind. And that is the reason why we have to understand those 5 unwholesome things, and that's known as 5 hindrances. In terms of the 5 hindrances, I have spent probably a whole 1 week talking about each and every hindrances, probably about 6 months ago. So if you want to listen in detail about the 5 hindrances, you can go on to our YouTube. So Varapunya Buddhist Meditation Center YouTube channel, and there is a playlist called Hindrances, where you can find detailed information of all these 5 hindrances, which is unwholesome state. And what 5? The hindrances of essential desire. So this is the first hindrance. Essential desire is basically we like to hear things that is pleasant, we like to see things that is beautiful, and we like to have a good smells, and we like to have a good taste of food, and also we would like to have a comfortable clothing and comfortable abodes. And this is what we normally tend to want to have. And this is, in a certain level, it's okay. But what happens is that we go beyond the limits, and we began to see or began to consume rather than what we want. We just accumulate more and more. And then whenever our wishes of pleasant hearing, pleasant sights, and nice food, and nice tastes, and nice comfortable things are not available out there, it generates the resistance and hate. And this has been our behavior and our habit patterns, that whenever something happens which is negative, then always we want to push it away, or desire or wish to push that away, or eliminate and replacing positive things. And when we are in this way, and as a result of that, we become unhappy and we have troubles. Whereas in the practice of a meditation, is we are treating both equally, both negative and positive. So in the practice, we will be able to see that. And the second hindrance is ill will. And basically this ill will is, I don't need to explain too much on that. We all know that how much ill will we harbor within ourselves towards even ourselves, and then to other family members or the friends, whoever hasn't done as we wish for. The hindrances of a sloth and torpor, and that's the third one, and the hindrances of restlessness and remorse, the fourth one, and the hindrance of a doubt. If one were to say of anything a heap of the unwholesome, it is about these 5 hindrances that one could rightly say this. For this is a complete heap of the unwholesome, that is the 5 hindrances. So always remember that these 5 hindrances are the heap of unwholesome, which is embedded in our minds. And this is even, and again, this is very good if we can recognize it at the moment when it arises. It's become a tool to develop the calmness and silence within. And whenever we are not talking, we are talking inside our head, and that's simply, it's related to these 5 hindrances. And because of these 5 hindrances, we can't be silent. It's difficult to be silent. And Buddha didn't only talk about the unwholesome, the heap of unwholesome. Buddha also talked about the counter teachings of it. That is, comes like this. If, bhikkhus, one were to say of anything a heap of the wholesome, so heap of a wholesome, it is about the 4 establishment of a mindfulness that one could rightly say this. For this is a complete heap of the wholesome, that is the 4 establishment of a mindfulness. What for? Here, bhikkhus. A bhikkhu dwells contemplating the body in the body, ardent, clearly comprehending, mindful, having removed covetousness and displeasure in regards to the world. He dwells contemplating feeling in feeling, mind in a mind, phenomena in phenomena, ardent, clearly comprehending, mindful, having removed the covetousness and displeasure in regard to the world. If one were to say of anything a heap of the wholesome, it is about these 4 establishment of mindfulness that one could rightly say this. For this is a complete heap of the wholesome, that is the 4 establishment of mindfulness. So that's why there is one is unwholesome, which is inside us, and that are the sensual pleasure, ill will, sloth and torpor, restlessness and remorse and doubt. And counter teachings for that is the 4 foundations of mindfulness. Yeah? And that is contemplating on a body, dwelling in the body, feeling, mind, phenomena. And it will be repeating again and again every night, every night when we are reading these each and every discourses. So that's why I mentioned early on that I spent almost 1 week talking about the first discourse, just to lay the foundation, that how the 4 foundations are important. And the following days it will be continue, and with the different similes, why for establishment of a mindfulness is important in different ways. And today it is in a sense that 4 foundations of a mindfulness is the heap of a wholesome, whereas 5 hindrances are the a heap of unwholesome. And in a practice of a meditation, as we know that there are 2 types of meditations, which is the samatha meditation and the vipassana meditation. Samatha meditation is basically you are concentrating on one particular object to calm your mind down. At that moment, you are suppressing all those hindrances. Yeah? So you're suppressing all those hindrances. With that suppression, you are attaining the calmness. You're attaining the serenity of your mind. But that doesn't mean you are able to overcome these 5 hindrances. It's like the grass which you normally see in your garden if you have. Like here in our center, we can see it a lot. Whenever we are placing a stone or any object on a ground, and over the period of a time when we take that stone out from that ground, we see that all the grass are died out. But actually that is not died yet. It was just suppressed. And that suppression is simply putting that stone. And here in our mind too, when we are contemplating on an object, whether it is a breath or abdomen or any crystal or any words, verbalization, or using one object to concentrate and penetrate on that, that moment, basically that object is like a stone pressing a grass. And the grass, it's like died out. But once you take this stone out and leave it for a couple of days, then all the grass will sprout again. So this practice of a samatha meditation, we do able to reduce or suppress all these 5 hindrances, but we haven't overcome it. And that's why the second practice, the insight meditation or vipassana meditation, seeing things as they truly are, basically, rather than suppressing those 5 hindrances, which is the sensual pleasure, ill will, sloth and torpor, restless and remorse and doubt, basically we are learning these things. We are learning, we are accepting, allowing it to appear. We are allowing it to appear, and all what we are doing is watching it objectively. As we watch it objectively, what happens is that it hasn't got energy to carry on or to make further on. When there is nothing that can add on, and gradually as we become mindful of it again and again, we will be able to overcome those hindrances. And at the end, so that's why in the phenomena section, the foundation of this 4 establishment of a mindfulness meditation, that last one, the phenomena, which is the dwell in a phenomena in phenomena, that moment, the first thing we have to overcome is the 5 hindrances. So we have to work with the 5 hindrances. And then here we are working with the 5 hindrances doesn't mean we are suppressing it, but we are using it. We are using it to grow our mindfulness, awareness, and strength, and understanding that how it is conditioning ourselves to be in the difficult situation. Like this morning we had, when I was assisting teaching, we had a talk coming in, and then suddenly we just talk about saying that when we are having a negative thoughts about somebody, ill will, such as ill will, if a person can catch it the moment when ill will begins, then that ill will helps to grow. So here basically, in order to understand an object, we have to have an object. Yeah. So in order to understand an object, we have to have an object. So this is similarly in the practice. In order to understand these 5 senses, ill will, restless and sloth and torpor and doubts, we have to have those in place too. And we are simply allowing these to appear, happening, and then we are paying attention to it. And as we pay attention to it, we are not engaging, we are not exaggerating, we are not manipulating, we are simply watching objectively, like what normally I give a simile, sitting at the bank of the river watching the river flow. So you simply watch it, how it manifests, how it engages. And then the power of these hindrances simply subsides. And then next time, whenever it is there, then that won't affect you. It's like you have fully understood, and no more it is going to cause any trouble to you. So that's why the practice of the 4 foundations of mindfulness is known as wholesome, that we have created. It's like a big wealth that we have collected for ourselves, within ourselves, for ourselves. Whereas whenever we began to practice meditation, these 5 hindrances always like a thief taking our mind away to indulge in the sensual pleasures, or ill will, or a restless, or even a doubts takes us away, and not able to meditate, and not able to develop this the wealth, inner wealth. So that's why the 5 hindrances are like thieves, always waiting to take objects from yourself away. The moment when you meditate, then these will just come and disturb your attention, disturb your meditation. So in the first stage, we're preventing these to invade. And then second, we recognize them. And then rather than neglecting, rather than resisting, we simply learn with it and then overcome that 5 hindrances. So this is a heap of the wholesome. On simple words is unwholesome, which is 5 hindrances; wholesome, which is the practice of a 4 establishment of a mindfulness that we have to develop. So thank you everyone. I end here for tonight's reflection on the Satipatthana Samyukta, reflecting the wholesome and unwholesome, the heap of a wholesome and unwholesome. Okay. So thank you everyone for watching and listening. And in a few moments time we were going to have evening chanting and guided meditation. You're most welcome to join with us. Until then, good night and see you shortly. Thank you. Sadhu.